Welcome back to The Creative Lens. Today, Jake and Colden dig into the strange endgame of AI filmmaking. So if AI can replace the camera, the crew, the actors, basically the entire production, what stops it from coming after the director too? Plus, GoPro just launched their bizarre new Mission 1 Pro ILS. Who exactly is this camera for? Apple drops a much more powerful and much more expensive Mac Studio, and a priceless Leica gives us the perfect reminder that owning great gear isn't the same as creating with it. Let's get into it.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to The Creative Lens. Jake, my friend, we have so much to get into today.
So much.
I almost feel like I want to cut the jabbing and go straight to it. But there was one thing I thought of you this weekend that I did. I printed out a bunch of, I used my printer back. I don't know if you can see it back there, my nice printer, printed out a bunch of photos that I've taken over the last year. And that's that's a physical reward of like taking a bunch of digital photos, is having that. I don't know if you feel the same way, but man, I love physical prints of your photography.
Yeah, it is the best. Okay, I got a funny, quick story. So yeah. I used to send out postcards all the time of my photographs. And you know, you get the return to senders. You get the like, hey, we moved, we this, we that. Just recently. So, and I stopped doing this year and a half, if not maybe even 2 years ago. Literally in the last month, I just got 3 returned back to me now that I probably sent over 2 years ago.
Where have those been bumping around the USPS system?
I don't know. And it scares me and confuses me that like, really? This is being returned to sender 2 years later?
Wow.
Okay. So
yeah,
but yes, it was a nice surprise to see my own photographs likewise in postcard
sent
form.
back to you.
I was well, like,
maybe that's so what I should do.
Who took
if I print out my photos as postcards, send them to random non-actual addresses, then I'll just get them back. It's like finding $5 in the couch. You just found one of your photos.
It was nice. I was like, I'm not a bad photographer. I'm pretty good at this.
Printing, there's so much, and we'll get into the AI thing and some more stuff we want to talk about today. But like that physical printing your photos gives you some tactileness that we've lost with digital. It's nice to have, and you can learn a lot too about your photography when you actually hold it and see it. And I think that, you know, there's a big correlation between the shift into digital and going away from the tactile and where AI has now become so popular. And I think that's part of it. You know, you lose the physical tactile of when you're holding a roll of film or when you're holding a photograph that you printed that you really appreciate and like and get to see every day.
Amen. Completely agree.
So I'm going to jump to this because I saw it and I thought of us. As much as we like to talk about gear, new stuff, new cameras, I'm a nerd. I love studying that stuff, but I don't think we fall into, you know, at this moment, currently right now, at least, we're not shilling for any camera or like glazing something to just try and make a quick buck, right? We like to talk about stuff just because we like to talk about it, but I also like the de-influencer space. The don't buy things just because the internet told you to buy things. Only buy them when it solves a problem. So this is by Films by Christian or Christian Eli. I saw this on his Instagram and I just thought, dude, this is such a great, it's just a great take. So here's why he's not buying the FX5.
My Sony FX5 pre-order because I want more time. I don't need open gate or 5K or triple base ISO. I need more hours in the day to work on the things that I want to work on. And if I have an extra $6,000 in my bank account, it means that I can say no to projects that I would have to say yes to be able to like justify keeping this camera. But my FX3 is going to make things look just fine. Just as fine as that camera always made things look. I think I understand a little bit deeper about what it means to build something as a filmmaker because it's not a sacrifice, but I really wanted this camera, but I know that I need more time to work on the things that I want to work on. If you have a camera that works, but you don't have enough hours in the day, maybe you don't need the new camera. Maybe you need more time. Buy your time back. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know if it was the music, the message, but like your boy almost started tearing up right there.
You're tearing up. I know.
I'm like, yes.
Christian will do that to you, man. He's the perfect anti-influencer. And he makes really good films too. So go follow him. He's fantastic. I don't know him, but I
definitely gotta go check him out, because that was, but which is so true. And it's something I talk about, you know, when I talk to fellow artist friends who are like, you know, oh, we're starting to make some money. Okay, it's like, dude, you know, get someone to help, you know, clean the house. Get somebody to, you know, pay for somebody to, you know, pay for Uber Eats, but that gives you an extra hour to edit. Like, so you don't have to cook and clean. Like, that's very well used money if it's going to help make you more money. And I think it's something that we as artists don't instinctually feel and think with, is that entrepreneurial, you know, cost benefit analysis of time is money. And even if it's like, great, oh, you're hourly or you're this or you're that, like, but that perspective was so beautiful. It's like that extra $6,000 at the bank account. It's like, well, instead of using it to spend on a camera, use it to go spend on a film. Like, it was even super interesting where I just shot this documentary, or this a segment of a documentary, and my second on it, who, you know, was doing B-roll, like while I was doing the interview, he was going to capture some B-roll, and he's a great second. Like, he's a great DP, and but on his own dime, didn't ask him, didn't pay for it. He sent me a bunch of the B-roll that's fire, and he colored it all. And I'm like, and I showed it to the client. And because of that, the guy's going to get hired to do the coloring. But it's like that little extra effort. Like, he doesn't need, you know, and my wife goes, what camera was he shooting on? Oh my God, we got to get that camera. I'm like,
yeah,
no, we don't. We don't need to get that camera. Like, it was just that extra effort, that little extra thing that's going to get him more work. And, you know, because of that, he's worked with big brands like Nike and you name it. Like, and it's just that little extra time that gets you that extra work as a filmmaker and as an artist.
And I like where Christian was saying too, is like, you'd have to say yes to certain jobs, certain clients, that just to pay the bills, if you take on that extra $6,000 debt versus if you buy some of your time back. I just liked it a lot. And Eric, I appreciate you, man. He's seconding us, printing for sure. And then AJ's jumping in here too. And the gear acquisition syndrome. I had to make sure I looked that up and make sure YouTubers weren't just talking about having bad gas. But
gas is expensive right now, just in general.
Very true.
I live in LA though, so
you live in the worst of the opportunities. So before we dive into my AI topic, because we talked about it last week, I made a summarized version of where I felt on the whole situation, and
got some heat in the comments.
The comments blew up, and I will say before we jump into that section, that was actually my favorite part of that video. Is there was probably equal parts of people that totally thought I was an idiot, totally disagreed with me, and then the people that agreed with me. There was 10% of people that I either ignored or blocked because you're just a jerk and I won't engage with that. But even the people that were disagreeing with me gave me so much to think about. And so I was like, when we were talking about what were we going to put the show together on, a lot of this is because of the comment section of the people that didn't think my take was right, that made me think about AI a little bit more. I still am going to be in the same camp where I don't like generative AI in an artistic sense, but we can dig into that a little bit more. Before we get to that though, there's a new movie coming out that you're excited about that is...
Well, what I found was so funny was that this wasn't on your radar. Like, you knew of the movie and you're like, why are we going to talk about this? Why are we talking about some animated movie with John Cena and Will Forte in it? Okay. And I was like, no. Do you not know about the drama?
I don't. I saw it. This is the amount I know of Coyote versus Acme. It was a preview when I went and watched Spider-Man. I went, oh, a Coyote movie. Cool. Cartoons.
But
so now fill me in.
So right now there's this kind of long history of, especially in the WB, and I'll throw it out there. I think that David Zaslav is an idiot, but that's my opinion, because I think the decisions he's making for this company is absolutely idiotic. But there's this theme right now with films being shelved and being basically thrown out, being spent money on and then thrown out for tax write-offs. And it happened to Batgirl, and it's happened to a handful of other films recently in the last couple of years. And Coyote versus Acme was going to be the next poster child of that syndrome. And I just kind of wanted to walk through what happened, because it basically is this hero story in a similar way to Sonic, which now the Sonic franchise became this massive franchise.
Yeah.
But where they had the first animation of Sonic, and the entire fan base went, what in the living name is this? This isn't Sonic. Just make him look like the character.
Yeah,
so
you'd think.
In a similar way, the outrage of the audience saved that movie, and now they've made 3 movies. And arguably, there's this meme, just quick side tangent, that Jim Carrey was retired from acting and would only come back for the right film. And you know what that film was? Sonic 3.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah.
But Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That goes to show you just the depth of that franchise and what it meant to an actor. So in a similar way, Coyote vs. Acme, I just kind of wanted to go through this because I find it's such a fascinating thing with where Hollywood is at right now. So obviously, the Coyote character in Acme has been around for what, 60 years, something like that now. I don't have the full data on that, but there was a original New Yorker piece with Wile E. the Coyote suing Acme in 1990 in the New Yorker, which then in 2015, James Gunn pitches it to Warner Brothers. So they greenlight it. David Green gets hired to direct it, and they say, okay, great. $70 million budget. It's a pretty hefty budget. It's not a small indie film. So then what they go is then it starts testing off the charts. But freaking David Zaslav, CEO of Warner Brothers, goes, no, let's try to claim a $30 million tax write-off. So we're going to lose $70 million and still lose essentially $40 million to get a $30 million tax write-off on this, which basically everyone was pissed off about. So Dave Green then convinces Warner Brothers to put it up to shop. So with the studio then demanding $70 to $80 million for it, it rejects bids from Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount. Like, they're like, yeah, you can buy it. No, we don't want to sell it to you. No, we don't want to sell it to you. We don't want to sell it. Like, insanity.
Yeah.
Right. And then I still can't believe this is an actual true headline, which is an independent distributor called Ketchup Entertainment steps up and acquires the film for about $50 million. So Warner Brothers still loses $20 million on it. Basically securing the rights, and they, premiere it at Comic-Con, and it's now going at a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. And so I wanted to bring it up because it's such a fascinating story. And like, it releases this weekend, and with that, but I looked up okay, I'm slammed this weekend, and I don't really go watch movies on a Tuesday, even though I just did. But I was looking for next week, and it's not in theaters next week. So it's a 1 week theatrical release. And so I know you don't work in the producerial, directorial side of this, but I just kind of want to get your take, and even, some of the chat's take on just the state of Hollywood, and you see obviously the box office wins of, Backrooms, Obsession, but even to the, the big dogs are obviously winning too. Spider-Man and The Odyssey. Even though this kind of has that weird hybrid ground of original, but not original. But, it's adapted content, but it is an original piece in a sense. It's not oh, great, we've taken it directly from this comic and we're just adapting the story. Like, it's a unique take on it, and it seems very clever. So I think audiences are very much yearning for that type of content where it's fun, it's original, it's different. But I just kind of wanted your thoughts on this, and the chat's thoughts on, like, studios just shelving these projects, and like after putting literally tens of millions of dollars into it.
It's wild. I got to shout out right now though, Jay Hill, man. Thank you for supporting
us.
I got to tell you, man, this has never happened before. So I appreciate you, dude. It's nice to hear that people are tuning in and appreciate the stupid ideas that are in my head and Jake's head. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you for that. I'm
sorry. Because wow, that is so.
I know.
I'm like, wow, that's way too kind of you. Don't like.
Yeah. You derailed our whole podcast now for gratitude.
Now what?
Yeah, it's amazing. So anybody that was like calling me a shill, like, I don't do this for any money or clicks or anything.
Zero money on this.
Yeah, it's
Colden and I are working professionals. We definitely don't need the money from this. We that is way too kind. So thank you,
dude. Thank you so much. And you're here every week, man. I appreciate you. Like, this is, I can tell you, I started the show with it. This is why I was impressed with our community. And as much as I can say, I saw, I don't know if you guys follow Terry Warfield. He put it out. I think it's like a trend in the YouTuber space is to kind of go and complain about all the hate on YouTube right now. A whole nother show. Maybe we'll do next week's show on that because I've got thoughts. But take the 10% of the just jerks that were in my comment section. Even the people that disagreed were so cool to interact with. So that is like, appreciate you hanging out with us every time and being in the chat and like being here, because that's the community. And I feel like it's grown, Jake, like since we started, we literally started this podcast going like, Jake and I call each other anyway and just talk about film stuff. We were like, maybe we could do this online.
And other people might enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, man. And appreciate you guys for hanging out. I will say my only thought, because I don't know this space a lot, like the story, like you just told it to us for Coyote versus Acme, but it is interesting how interconnected everything is, and that you can either crowdfund a movie or crowdfund changes in a movie by speaking up about it. Like you brought up Sonic, and I thought Sonic was going to suffer the same fate as this, because I saw the first trailer come out of this. Like, I mean, maybe they AI'd him, who knows? But it was an abomination of what Sonic is supposed to look like, and people freaked about it. So I like the fact that we can crowdfund some of this. And then the other side of it is, the audience was able to speak up and get this movie into theaters. The same way I think that the audience was able to support Obsession and Curry Barker throughout his career. He built, the only reason why he had enough money and connections to be at Obsession level is because he was on YouTube and being supported. Back to kind of knowing your audience. We'll get to that in a second. But that's my only thought, is like, it's cool where you really can build an audience, grow a voice, and get something like this, Coyote versus Acme, that was shelved, that was just a total loss, back out, which is really cool. Yeah.
Very, very cool and just exciting. And
Endless Times Reduction, I'm going to shout you out really quick, and I'm sorry, I'll let you finish. But we'll get into this. I appreciate. I want people's thoughts on this AI, because
let's just get into it. Look, mine was a quick aside. It was fun. I think I'm excited to go see it. I'm going to see it. I think next week. Or no, Monday. I'm seeing it Monday night. So
nice.
I'm excited to see it. And we'll I'll give you my thoughts on it, obviously, either online or offline.
Both. We'll probably do both. We can review it next week. So
all right, let's get into this.
Digging into the AI thing.
What is going on right now? Because this is absolutely insane.
Every time I would get a comment of like, you're stupid for not using AI. That is the future. The first thing that I think, we've covered it here, but I will start our conversation here. Calling everything two vowels and putting an umbrella like that over it is absurd. That is insanity. Like every comment that would come back to me on this first video that I did was like, dude, my dishwasher has AI in it. it's AI smart sense. That is wildly different than some of the other stuff that some creatives have problems with right now.
Yeah, because you and
ChatGPT,
I actively use AI.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will fully admit, I plan out our shows by all week. I'm like taking notes on things I want to talk about. And I throw it all into ChatGPT and I say, hey, bullet point this for me. It's a good aggregator. I like,
Yeah.
And the people that are like, it's black or white. It's, I hate AI or I love AI. It's like,
Yeah.
you're looking at this through like the weirdest lack of nuance ever. So that was the first thing is I was like, I've never seen it. And granted, like I can do the old man, it's better on film. And I believe that a little bit, but also I've never seen a all-encompassing marketing hype name like this, where there are so many freaking tools. We're not even the people that were telling me that I was totally wrong about my take. We're not even willing necessarily to look at on device versus on servers. And to me, that's totally different. Blackmagic Design, DaVinci Resolve does so much good algorithmic processing. Like I can't even call it AI. You're just processing stuff through an algorithm and you can find people and you can find cats. And
I mean, on the Premiere side, the Premiere Adobe side, you have AI masking.
Yeah.
It's rotoscoping, but it's like, great. Oh, select what you want. We can kind of get the difference between, look at the pixels of the hair, look at the pixels of the background. Oh yeah, we can assume that's the difference. Great. Now, what used to take 10, 15 hours of rotoscoping can be done in a minute.
Right.
And then you can track forward and track back. And so you have the entire clip rotoscoped.
So there are those,
but that is it's AI, but like, okay,
right.
That's different than generative AI.
And I'm interested to see if the marketing
I love this.
shifts in the next couple of years as camps maybe solidify in the pro AI. Because literally I was on James Jackson's live stream earlier this week, just watching, and they were talking about DaVinci Resolve. And one of the commenters was like, I really hate that DaVinci Resolve calls it AI smart something, whatever. And I'm like, that's just marketing though. That's literally just them trying to pull market share from Final Cut Pro and CapCut. And like, I would much rather them pull people into the DaVinci Resolve. I know, sorry, Jake, but I would much rather them pull people into the DaVinci Resolve camp. And I think we've played some of their clips before because they're intentionally putting their AI tools on device for you. It lives on your device. You aren't paying them a subscription service and you aren't allowing them the ability to train God knows what else on your data. And I think, so that's the first differentiation where I'm like, if you're going to come to have a debate with me about the pros and cons, the goods and evils of AI, then like, let's set a more reasonable standard of debate, which is I'm not going to argue with you that I fully adamantly veto AI dishwashers. I don't care about AI dishwashers. I don't care. AJ's got AI in his Roomba. Go for it, AJ. And I am not going to stomp my foot about any artificial intelligence. We all know that's kind of marketing.
I'm going to jump in here for a second because we've talked about this.
Nick's in the chat too, by the way, man.
Oh, we're going to get into the chat.
Appreciate you hanging out. I know.
We're going to get into the chat just a second, but I want to say this because then we can go into the chat look, I think right now, because we were talking about how dynamic range is now the new buzzword compared to, a couple of years ago was megapixels, right? And I think in general right now, like as we had, protein is the new buzzword as vegan and paleo were the buzzwords in food marketing. I think in general in tech right now is AI, right?
Yeah.
But what is AI? Like, and again, it's just a buzzword in marketing because you could say like Zapier, which just does connections through webhooks, right?
Yeah.
Is AI. No, it's just automations. Automations don't have to be AI.
Yeah.
They're just like, so from a top level down of products in general are trying to be, we're cutting edge, right? They're just trying to be cutting edge. And so they use the term AI to be cutting edge.
Yeah.
So
the other thing that they, some people pointed out in the chat, which I think is very accurate. I don't know anything. And I will fully admit that. Like I'm not that was like my first question is, did I ever claim to be one of the top paid developers at Anthropic? Like I'm not that guy. We're actively kind of using it and seeing what tools work, what tools don't work, but I'm not an expert developer. I don't know all of the intricacies of it. And I'm also only trying to myopically look at this through the lens of our careers as filmmakers, as content creators, as digital marketers, whatever space you're in. And I think then the next question mark is, who is your audience? Because you have to be deeply aware. I can see on some of the jobs that I take as a marketing professional, the return on investment on ad spend for an AI generative commercial can sometimes be 3, 4, 5 times more expensive to advertise that because you're not getting the clicks because certain audience sectors don't like it. The reason why Maddie and Sam Colden and all these guys kind of blew up in the
filmmaking
YouTube sphere. Well, I'm just saying, like the last week, they got a lot of flack
for
advertising
in our niche of filmmakers.
But their audience, they're speaking to filmmakers, and they are selling gear and lenses and LUT packs and X, Y, and Z to other people that care about this craft. Grandma down the street might not care about that you use generative AI. And so those are different market sectors.
And it's really understanding your audience. It's 100% just understanding your audience.
Now, the other part of this, and where I come down on, I dislike the idea of generative AI, is because, and specifically, I think more so for me, the video generative AI is because there are a lot of currently bad actors. Like there's a lot of question marks around this technology. You brought up a story to me of like people using deep fakes and AI generations of celebrities. This was a great clip that Brandon Washington was talking about on his podcast, Uncensored. I'm sure if you guys are here, you also follow Brandon, but I want to shout him out and the Uncensored crew over there. But this is his clip. So this is just recently, a couple of like this last week.
Seen the girl?
That's hard.
Have you seen the girl who did an ad for a company as like a UGC creator? And
oh yes.
She didn't have like an AI clause, so they took her UGC content and then generated more with her likeness, and like she can't really fight it.
She was mad, but then I've seen other people literally take her content that they didn't even work with and put her in branded merch.
They just stole. That's
because I'm sure.
So that, I mean, it's that kind of stuff.
Now, to me, that's unethical from the company. You're taking advantage of people. Like that is completely, oh, it's not in the contract. Like,
right.
All right, well, it's not on the contract on the other side also. Like it didn't say you could do it. Okay, just because it says that I can't, I don't know, the law says that I can't, I don't know, stab people, I don't know, or something ridiculous specifically. Oh, well, it didn't say I could do it. It's like, well, it didn't say you couldn't do it. Like,
right.
What are we talking about here? Like, and so, and this is where it gets ridiculous. All right, I do want to answer. I want to look at the chat, and I want to bring up one point on the chat. Can I?
Yeah, please.
We cool to get
Eric,
into?
and I totally agree with you, man. The comment section is always difficult, so we might have to have you on at some point. We got more to talk about with Eric, but
all right. So I just want to bring up this point right here. So Kenshin, does AI coloring grading exist? I have to have a difficult isolating skin tone from the environment to grade it. So yes, there are lots of AI coloring, and there's also a lot of buy my LUT packs, buy my this, buy my that. The thing is this, and this is the point that Colden and I feel strongly on, which is if you want to learn a craft, learn the craft. Like if you want to color, learn the craft of coloring. If you want to DP, learn the craft of DPing. If you want to edit, learn the craft of editing. These are crafts. These are skill sets. Can AI do it? Sure. But like, and maybe, and look, and it's the argument. I mean, I guess you could say it's the same thing. I'm now actually just putting a comparison that I haven't overtly put together yet. You can
this
get
podcast is always for us to kind of make realizations in our own
yeah,
head in
and
real
that's
time.
how it started.
So
this is how this podcast started, was you and I shooting the shit and going, and throwing back ideas and having this interesting conversation. And we thought others might be interested in it, which is look at a bespoke suit versus a suit that you can buy from Nordstrom's. Look at a tailor-made, handmade craft of a plate that you get somewhere that's gorgeously painted in India or Italy or some other unique country that you see the artists, you see them, you saw them there's 8 generations of making this plate. And yes, it's something that you can buy at West Elm, right? But there's something special about that handcrafted, or a painter. Okay, you can buy a painting at IKEA versus, oh, there's the artist who hand painted that. You know, I have a small 8x10 painting that I got in Paris, in Marseille. I saw the painter painting it. It's awesome. Is it the most amazing thing? No, but it's a beautiful, great little piece. But there's that aspect of it. I could get something similar, printed, fine. And look, I think there's an aspect of like owning the craft of like a cobbler. You know, there are crafts that are going out of, you know, due to technology. And so it is, yes, you can have AI do this, but it's also like, it's the enjoyment of certain crafts. And we have to fight for that craft to still be alive. And that's basically what we're on that comment. That's my 2 cents on that comment.
You said something, and then Kenshin, I want to get to what you said. And I love this debate, but I'm going to try and keep my ADHD brain moving forward. But the other thing that I think is interesting is I have certain concerns with generative AI right now. I don't like generative AI where it sits right now. There is very minimal legal ramifications for these for any lawsuits to come up. Who was this? Was this Nick that said, yo, that's got lawsuit written all over it? Yeah, but you can't sue Anthropic. You can't sue Higgsfield. Higgsfield literally just put out a new terms of service that says you identify us from anything. So we're out. We're going to generate it all for you, and we're going to let you do whatever you want, but you guys can figure it out. So I think that has to get sorted out, that there has to be some responsibility. You know, look in the news right now. Just now in 2026, we're getting lawsuits against Meta and Google, YouTube for the harm that they've done to children in the social media space because they've been allowed to do it forever and been given basically amnesty from lawsuits. Just now, we're starting to kind of crack that and develop some protections. So in 30 years, is the technology going to look a lot different? Yeah, and I can change my mind. I also like changing my mind when people bring up interesting points and interesting things to talk about. So just because I say something in a 10-minute video doesn't mean it locks it in for the rest of forever. I think that things change and evolve. Now, this is really interesting because I got a bunch of hate on that I was an idiot for saying that these two things are not the same. Here's my thesis on where Maddie said, this is the 5D moment. This is going digital, because that's the argument that most of these pro AI bros have brought up to me is that, dude, you just sound like those same film people when digital came about. Here's my thought, though. Digital was, and there are some parallels, but Jake, track with me on this one. Let me know if you're tracking here.
All right.
Digital replaced a sensor with, or replaced a film gate with a sensor. It allowed you to
it was a physical product.
But it allowed you to do things cheaper. Sure, it saved money. It did not replace the cinematographer. It did not replace the makeup artist. It did not replace the actors. It did not replace the act of doing things. In fact, I shot on both in film school. I thought shot on 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter, and HVX 200 Panasonic digital CCD cameras that are a 1/3 inch. Can I tell you the amount of difficulty the magnitude of difficulty greater it was to try and shoot anything that looked good on a 1/3 CMOS CCD chip? It was so much harder to do that than 16 millimeter film. So it did not remove me from the act. And then they go, well, it ruined everybody whose job was to develop film. Very true. It was kind of a 1-for-1, right? Now these digital things came about. There was far less film being developed, produced, bought, but there was DITs now that didn't exist before digital. Now you have full DIT crews that are rushing dailies and doing conversions and backing up hard drives. And so and where it was cheaper, you didn't eliminate film, you just made it tapes. And then from tapes, you made it SD cards or CF cards, or you're still buying medium. So to me, that argument, dude,
and instead of, making film,
jobs,
you're making, exactly.
The film to digital did kill a lot of jobs that were normal in the film industry. That I can fully understand and get behind as evolution of the technology. The other thing I would point out is, look at the Odyssey. There are a dozen. I gave them a list of at least a dozen films in the last year. And these had cinematic releases that were shot on 35 millimeter or 70 millimeter or IMAX film. So they coexisted. And I totally understand. And I could get the understanding that at some point down the line, we'll get into a coexistence of, these are fully AI generated films. You can go see that film if you want. That's because not everybody wants to go see an animated Toy Story movie. To me, I see AI generated stuff more as in line with where animation was and is evolving, compared to, oh, it's going to take your job, man. Nobody's going to want to watch old school movies anymore. They're just going to generate it. So I don't know. That's where I was tracking on that one. I don't see it as a 1-for-1, because this is not going after a film, a medium. It's going after the entire process of making a film. Thoughts? Or you want me to go to?
I look at it like this, right? So my wife and I are super into theater. We love theater. We're going to New York, and we're going to see 4 plays in probably the 6 days we're there. And I love seeing theater. It's an art form I enjoy seeing. And you could say film replaced theater. Like if we go back, right? Music. In the same way, you're going to want to see music live. So if you have a generative AI artist, how do you go see them in concert?
Right.
Yes, not everybody can go see concerts, but the goal is to see them in concert. You're going to have to, even a DJ who, you can make arguments that DJs aren't musicians and they don't play music. I don't know. EDC is a massive festival. You have at least a person. They're not like going, okay, great, we're going to just have animation on screen and nobody stand up there.
Yeah.
There's at least a dude or chick standing up there going, click.
Who hopefully put some of that together. Now, if you didn't, I have the same complaints with you that I do with generative AI. But
which is the complaint of DJs, right? But my point is, there's still in artistry, there's still a human connection. And you can make the comparison of like, well, look at cars, look at all of this other tech that like became automated and became this. It's like, but that's not art.
Yeah.
This is art we're talking about. Which
Yep.
And so and that's the thing. It's looking at like, okay, how do we make good art? And it's more from the standpoint of we're trying to stand up for our community of artists to make art.
Now here's a point I conceded to some of the DJ analogy is interesting, Kenshin. I agree, because that almost broke my fight. But here's where I also conceded a point to these people to some of the comments that were AI is art. Being able to properly generate something is also going to be an art form. There are great AI artists. I look at AI, and again, in my stupid single person brain on the internet, like don't listen to anything that I have to say, but AI is a technology, the same way that film to digital may have been a technology. It's not an art form. It's not a medium. It's a technology. The same way your Xerox copy machine, and that's the analogy that I made, is that AI currently is only a very good Xerox copy machine. All it can do is take 1 billion inputs that it has been fed and trained on, and it can cut out little pieces of each one of those things for you. And when you say, here, make me a copy of this, it can predict and try and figure out your language and break your language down to ones and zeros and then make a really interesting copy. It cannot generate something brand new and from any kind of emotion. Yeah. But the argument that I kind of conceded to is, look at an artist like Andy Warhol, who did make creations, but he also used kind of the lithography and photocopying techniques to create interesting things that are very famous and still around. So I think that there is a space for being able to AI something. Now, one interesting point to that, though, and I know you want to jump in. I got a point. Because I dug into, so you guys don't have to, but I dug into Higgsfield's new terms of service. One thing Higgsfield is fully unwilling to grant you in any capacity, no matter what plan you pay for, is any copyright or authenticity. Their terms of service specifically line out that another user could generate exactly the same thing as you did, regardless of prompt. It could generate the exact same outcome. And so you get no protections, no copyrights, no claims on anything you make on their platform with their services. That, to me, starts to be, well, then how are you an artist if you can't copyright the thing that you did?
So I think there's a very distinct thing, because look, at the end of the day, what is the purpose of art? Is to communicate a message. That is the purpose of art.
Yeah.
That's very different than making a marketing video.
Yep.
Marketing video is not to create an emotion, an emotional reaction in the audience member. A marketing video is there to create a buying sensation in the audience member, right? That's what marketing
still has to be an emotional hook, and we can get into that in a minute.
But sure, but basically the point is that, like, art is, I don't even know how to completely say my thought correctly, but basically, look, I think what you're saying is very, you know, I like the aspect of, like, you cannot copyright AI stuff. It's because anybody can generate it. And so it makes it go, okay, great. Well, it's universal. It's fine. There's nothing special about that.
I want to address what Eric said here, because it's right. And we talked about it before too. And Eric, this is kind of where I broke down at the beginning of, like, what are these tools that we're talking about, and because it's not just all AI. It is also a place where I concede to anybody with this type of experience, because I'm not a software engineer. I would think that this is equally as scary to software engineers coming down the pipe, you know, because it's democratizing that. To me, though, that use, Claude Code, Codex, those things that are kind of helping people understand coding in a different way, makes more sense for the tool that is artificial intelligence, LLMs, things that aggregate a lot of detail. Because at the software level, you are basically speaking in ones and zeros, right? It's not a world that I live in, and it's the world that I enjoy using AI for, because I don't have any expertise in it. And that's kind of the next point I want to go into, is it feels like AI is a superpower if you don't have expertise in anything. If you don't have expertise in the thing, I can look at Claude Code and it can spit out a website for me, and I can be like, this is amazing. But the same way that a coder can spit out a Higgs field film and show it to me, and I can go, dude, this is trash. I'm sure the coder can look at me and go, you obviously used codecs to write this because there are so many errors in it. I will jump through this point really quick because in trying to see the other person's side for you all, I did this. You don't have to. I went and watched every link. If somebody was like, dude, these AI films are actually really good, I'd say, okay, send me the link. And I would go watch it as much as I could. Some of them are like 2 hours long. I can't do that. Unfortunately now, guys, my YouTube algorithm thinks I like these. Jake, I open the app and it's like, here's this new Higgs field.
Why didn't you go just in incognito mode, bro?
I didn't think about it. I was trying.
Move. What is wrong with you?
I was trying to find the common ground between some of these people that disagree with me.
Incognito mode. It's not that hard.
So many issues, even with the good ones. So here were a couple of thoughts, and I don't know if anybody in the chat has watched any of these films. Here's what I noticed right off the bat. Number one, the acting, the eye lines are awful. Like any close-up that goes closer than this looks awful because the generation doesn't emote anything with the eyes. And maybe that gets better, but it is so hard to watch because that's one thing as a director we focus on, right? Is like, where's the eye line? What's the emotion telling when you push in? What does that mean? So that was one really terrible eye lines. Maybe that'll get fixed. The second thing that I noticed is that everything was a fast cut because in playing with video generation, the longer your clip, the worse it mutates. The more fingers.
Most of this stuff you can only get 4 to 8 seconds, anyways. Most of the AI generations you can't do longer than 8 seconds.
And some of these new ones, like the one that Maddie's selling, you can do longer takes, but they're not always good. And you mentioned it last time. Sometimes you can spend hundreds of dollars regenerating things because one thing's off, then you regenerate it. Then one thing's off, then you regenerate it.
That's interesting trend. Okay, I'm just gonna call this out right now. That we're going to move toward longer takes to prove that it's not AI.
But I do think that AI may continue to get better at that. The only other, I agree.
Because that's a filmmaker trend that it could be like, okay, how do we know it's not AI? You know,
I can shout out exactly what you said because I know you follow Jacob Owens. If you guys follow Jacob, he's got his own horror film contest, festival film contest. He added last night, 2 nights ago, 3 days ago, I don't know what. He added that you get 2 bonus points. I don't know how he scores things, but 2 bonus points if you shoot your entire film in one take. So there you go. That's one idea of this. But he also put out an Instagram video that I try and save as many of these clips as I can, but I resonated with is like, don't just cut the camera because you can cut the camera. Don't just put in insert shots that aren't motivated by anything. So that's my next take. One, there were tons of fast cuts. It felt like I was watching a film made by TikTokers because it had that same mentality of like every 2 seconds you have to cut. Every 2 seconds you have to cut. The other thing that is a dead giveaway to me when I was watching these, and it frustrated me, made me sick watching it. I had to I was done. I could not see this as a real viable thing. Is at least in film school for me, I had directors and mentors and teachers to me that said, do not ever move the camera unless you have a reason to move the camera. Unless there is a real emotional motivation to move the camera, don't just do it because you can. On top of that, physically moving a camera is difficult, right? You have to either have a gimbal or a steady cam or a dolly or lay down rails to run a dolly. Like it is, or get a big techno jib. It is not
a drone even, you know,
it's not, I can put it anywhere I want. And so a lot of these AI films, because you don't have any limitations, the camera's moving all the time. It's dollying this way, it's panning in, it's up way high, and then it's coming through the glass, and every shot does that. None of it feels motivated because you can. And so maybe that's to the argument of better directors will prompt it better, but that is still something that I see is like the limitations. It's something I talked to Todd about on his podcast, is as much as the cliche is think outside the box, filmmaking inside of a box is actually the most inspiring, powerful thing that you can do. Understanding,
look at Backrooms, look at Obsession.
Markiplier's Iron Lung is in a garage.
All of these.
Yeah. Yep. What 3 years of development? It's getting better. It is getting better.
You had another clip though.
Yeah, so we're going to go on to the next one now.
More clips that you wanted to talk about.
We were trying to power through this. I told you this was going to be a talk, man. Okay, so here's the next thesis point, and this is from Caleb Heron from the So True podcast. Here you go.
Somebody who's using ChatGPT to generate videos, images, art, text in an artistic capacity to write for you, you are not somebody who deserves to be taken seriously. That's just how I feel about it. And people can do all of the hemming and hawing and hedging that they want to do about like, well, that's how people talked about the radio and the computer and like, look how silly they look now. I don't care. I'm happy. If I look silly in 70 years because I said you're a brain dead loser for making art with AI, that's fine. I'll just be somebody who looks silly in 70 years. I really don't have a problem with that. I'd be happy to be somebody who tried to have an ounce of integrity.
Yeah.
And for everyone in 70 years to think that I'm stupid. That is completely fine with me. You are not a serious person. You don't deserve to be taken seriously.
Let me speak. So I don't disagree, because the thing is this, it's like the what we talked about earlier, right? Oh, radio to television, color or black and white to color, the silent films to talkies, right? Artists still made the art. It didn't replace the artist. It just replaced the medium, how the art was being made. But it didn't replace the artist. Generative AI literally replaces the artist.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And it's taking not from artists. It's not taking from imagination. And that's the inherent, at the end of the day, art is made from imagination. If you look at, and I love doing these comparisons because I love sci-fi. If you look at Star Trek, it literally predicted technology that is today. But from 50 years ago, 40 years ago, it was going, oh, what about this? What about this? Cell phones and this and messages and this and that. It was creating technology in artistic form, which now is being developed. But it's coming from the imagination of people. And that's what generative AI doesn't do. It doesn't imagine, right? And so you still have to imagine it.
Yep, 100%.
It's like, oh, well, you can imagine more with generative AI. But can you?
And I'm going to get to...
It is a crutch.
Yes. I'm going to get to that in just a second, because you're leading into my last kind of thought experiment here. But in terms of this not being able to be taken seriously, or you're not a serious person, this is my hot take, and I understand that you can argue this opinion with me, but there is some proof that has been around more than a couple of years to make me think this way. If you are unserious, or if you are doing this for unserious reasons, then ChatGPT, generative AI, Eric said the only good ones are the memes. That is unserious, and that's fine. But to me, it is hearing an expert say, oh, I ChatGPT'd this, or I used AI for this, and it will get better. And so I know this, it might not be my forever take, but it's like your surgeon coming in and saying, hey, I Googled how to do your surgery just before. I want to let you know I Googled it. Like, that idea makes you unserious. If you have expertise and lived experience and you are an expert in your craft, you shouldn't need this thing. You shouldn't need to Google how to do my surgery before you cut me open. So that is the unseriousness, and it may get better, but it feels like it is a perfect tool for people that lack experience. It's not a perfect tool for that thing that you have experience, lived experience, and knowledge in.
And I like this comment right here.
Yeah.
AI is a companion, not the nerd you pay to do your homework.
Yes.
right? And so many people are using it as a nerd to do your homework. And that's the whole argument that we're making, is that, oh, go make my movie for me. And it's like, no, go make your movie yourself. Go get the shot. Go write the script.
Yeah.
And so, and then I love this perspective made by Mozart, right? So, I can read it aloud, but the biggest thing I tell people is to think Tony Stark versus Jarvis, right? Which is a great comparison. So great analogy. And then he followed it up with, as this: AI is supposed to be a tool, but shock and awe sells better than use for this property.
Yeah.
So,
and all of these comments are so smart in that there are multiple different tools that you can use, and there are multiple different facets. I was digging into one that is kind of very niche and doesn't have a lot of external facets of it, but I totally agree with all of that. Now, I'm going to play the last clip for you that I have on this, that I am angry. Guys, I am angry that I didn't think of this, because now I can't unsee AI in this way. Here, take a look. This is Max Hoffert, who's a designer by trade. And so this is Where Boring Dies is his Instagram handle. So take this.
Say it's a tool. It's not a tool. It's a service. You're paying OpenAI or Claude or whoever to render something and give it back to you.
Right.
It's like you wouldn't order DoorDash and say, oh yeah, I use this tool called DoorDash to help me be a better chef, and it just showed up at my house. It's like, it's no different than that. You place an order and hit enter and it feeds it to you. It cuts the process out, which I think is the other issue. It's teaching our whole lives. We've been told it's all about the journey, not the outcome, the journey. Right. Now juniors are being told that just use this thing and blah, 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 and it's going to be the future, and you're cutting the process out. I know there's degrees of which you can incorporate AI to brainstorm or whatever. Not for me, but whatever people do with it. I just think that's not how unbelievable stuff is created. It's created with your imagination, your lived experiences. And when we teach people coming up that they should remove that and outsource it to this productivity thing, it's just really, really bad.
Couldn't agree more.
So the idea, when you think of it like that, and that's kind of this last thesis point that I have, is when you think of it like that it's a service. Generally speaking, services evolve to capture the end user. I was thinking of this idea of, like, you used to have to go to the theater, and then there was this service called Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and all these places that would buy the movies for you, so you don't have to buy them, and you could pay a small service fee and rent them from them. Well, then what happened? Netflix found a way to get to the end user faster than Blockbuster. You don't have to get in your car. You don't have to have a membership. Blah, blah, blah. We'll mail it to your house.
Amazon
Then
Prime.
they got even faster, and they said, we won't even mail it to your house anymore. You can just download it. So this idea of the technology is always going to find the end user. The people, and this is the last thing, that if you are right, people that are saying it's going to take everybody's job because AI is so darn good, you're only going to have generated. You have to shift. This was a fun comment that I heard. You have to shift your mind into being an AI film director, not a cinematographer, because they took the camera's job away. Okay. The jump, if you're going to jump there, that it's so good, it's going to take away the actors, it's going to take away the hair and makeup, it's going to take away the sets, it's going to take away the cinematographer. The only job left is director. Every prompt you put into Higgsfield from now until then is training them how to cut that part out as well. And so what I don't understand is the idea that this invasive species, this technology that is taking over every single part of the job except the AI film director, doesn't just say the end goal is, hey, end user, Jake, what do you want to see today? Or you want to see an episode of Friends and where Ross gets with, like, type it out. Just type out what you want to see and it'll generate it. And that's yours. And you can just go watch that. So I don't understand how this idea goes, well, it's going to stop right at the director and I still have a job.
But also that, give me an episode of Friends where Ross does this and Rachel does that. Give me an episode of Friends where this actor, this cinematographer, this style of writing, this set, you know, all of these artists made this art.
Right.
So, you know, I love this meme, which I wanted just to, you know, as we wrap up our day on our episode on this is this meme right here. Oh, you and I trying to do the same thing.
Yep.
All at once. And this is what, you know, if you're an artist AI, this is what I feel you look like.
Dude, it's the scene from Idiocracy. It's the scene.
Yeah.
Go watch Idiocracy because they predicted a lot too.
You know, like you're just going to be a lard sitting in front of a computer putting buttons. Does this look like an artist? And if you're like, hey, I'm okay with that, great. Like this is always my opinion. It's like, look, if this is how you want to live your life, this is what you want to do, great. But also don't make me live my life that way. Don't, like, I'm not going to make you wrong. Like, if that's what you want to do, great. Totally fine. But also just good. You and I are just going to live our lives differently. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And there will be different audiences for each, which is fine. This is kind of the button on what I was trying to get out though too, is this idea of personal entertainment. And the end game of that to me, when these, you know, the people that were very pro AI in my comment section was saying, I'm going to make the next great AI film. To who? Because at a point where you're making your own personal entertainment that is perfect for you, and I can make my own, and Jake can make his own film, and you can make your own film, then you have to, by means of more development, more ability to go do this with less and less technical skill, your audience has to shrink. It has to go down to, like, I just don't see, if that is the end game to this, that it doesn't somehow become its own animation style, its own medium, it can have its own area.
And it probably will.
Right.
And it probably will, which is, you know, it's all good. You know, that's the thing. It's like, it's fine. And I think both worlds will coexist. And I think this is going to be a long, long debate. You know, we've spent close to an hour discussing this. We started discussing it last week. This will be a discussion that we have more and more.
Yeah. And I like the debate. I mean, honestly, all of this.
That's why we have this podcast. And that's why we have this podcast in general. But next week, we're going to skip AI. Yeah. Because we have some other things to talk about. Like,
I think we can.
Because this, at the end of the day, is not an AI show. It's a GoPro show. Come on, Colden.
We have a couple more minutes, man. I'm going to jump into it because we can. I'm jumping into it.
I was trying to sign us off to get, because
I appreciate you.
Can we tease what you're doing?
We're going to do that in a second. Let's cover at least GoPro, because they launched this like this week.
Okay.
And I will shout out Petapixel. They always do really good work. I think this is Jordan. Guys, tell me if I'm right on this.
Basically, Petapixel helps write our show. Can we? I will.
And this was the other funny thing is I got a comment, which is totally fair, but like, you're just guys talking about cameras that you don't have. Yet they don't send us all these things. We are not on that level.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I find them interesting. I'll give you my opinions, but no, I haven't tested this camera. I'm not going to buy this camera. This is. I will
tell you why we're not going to buy it.
Yeah. But the GoPro Mission 1 was announced back at NAB, right? It is a interchangeable lens system, and Petapixel pointed out, rightly as I did before, is that you do not have any electronical connections for any aperture control. That's the weird part to this. So it's a very small cinema camera, micro four thirds cinema camera that you can attach these cool lenses to, but you don't have any lens control. So you're dealing with fully manual lenses. And he pointed out too, if you are going bare bones here, you have a 2-inch screen, which everybody was mad at the FX5 for only going 3.5. So you have less than a 2-inch screen to try and pull your focus on. if you go with their app and you put their media mod on it, I thought this was fantastic. So if you go with their app and the phone and the media mod, well, now you're starting to look like here's the GoPro and here's the GH7, which does all of it internal with autofocus, with any micro four thirds lens.
With the same, but let me ask you this: does the GH7, what is their slow-mo?
It doesn't have the same level of slow-mo, and I don't know all the specs. I'm not a panny guy, but
I'm just saying.
And I think you nailed it. But my question is, like, you're not selling me on form factor anymore, GoPro, because
no,
it's bigger and more cumbersome, and it's not designed for anything really. The Lumix, the GH7 is a far more compelling option, except, so then Jake, who is this for?
In my opinion, the only reason to get this camera, which is the exact reason I was debating renting it, maybe buying it and doing, an Amazon / Walmart rental, as we might call it, is the slow-mo. Is that you get that 960, baby, and you can create the really cool shit with a 960.
Yeah.
Or 240. Like, you can get that high speed slow-mo at a good, but I haven't looked into what other cameras can do that.
I think it's one of one. I mean, I honestly think if you need 960,
if you need that moment of just that, like, boom.
Yeah.
And you want to capture that cool thing, and you want a decent lens with it, not just a GoPro, like not just the fixed GoPro lens, but you can actually throw on a micro four thirds lens with this or with that. Like,
they're wild.
Are the comments blowing up right now? Open this up
a little bit. One, I guess.
But basically,
300 frames a second on the GH7. That's good enough.
My point is the 960 is the only selling point. Like, you're buying it for the 960 or renting it for the 960. That is my only, and I don't even like what a lens, no lens, this, that, like, that's what you're getting.
Yep. I agree. I do like Eric's take here, though. This is more likely it's for Nick Woodman's bonus check. But that was my other question is, like, when I saw it release, so there was somebody on Reddit. So take this for, the grain of salt that Reddit is always, although I met Eric on Reddit. So there you go. So there's, it does bring people together, but some guy on Reddit was reporting that they talked to B&H and they have only sold about 50% of their pre-order units so far. That doesn't mean that they won't sell out, but they've only sold about 500 of these cameras, which you would think if you were really stoked about this ILS model, you'd get it at pre-order, you'd get it at the launch. So is it too niche of a product that,
to me, I'd only rent it. I was, we were talking about the shoot that I was bidding on. But again,
that's a weird rental though.
I was
for
not
$699. It's almost like a gimmick. Pick it up and use it when you need it.
Exactly.
To me.
It's use it for and again, it was one very specific shoot that was sports that made sense to have that. But I remember back there's this I forget there was this plugin, but it's an OG plugin that would basically take slow motion footage and slow it down even more, and basically, put in frames for
it was optical flow before optical flow. Yeah, I remember that.
But they would be able to take 120 frame footage and make it 1,000 frame footage.
Yeah,
I forget about it.
You guys remember what that was called?
AI.
This is like a weird. This is like
well before AI, right?
Yeah, it was.
But I guarantee you now with AI, okay, you could do that. Like, hey,
so you don't need AI. I don't know what Premiere does, but Resolve is so good at it. You put it through Resolve, and because I've done that, and it's optical flow at the speed warp AI enhance, whatever it's called, and it is so good. As long as you shoot it with enough shutter speed.
Yeah.
At your original. Oh, dude, it's so good.
So you shoot it at 240, which a lot of these cameras can do 120. These DSLR mirrorless cameras can now do 120, 240. I think my R6 Mark II can do 180. Like, You shoot it anywhere in that, and then you go, great, I want to just half it or half it again.
Yeah.
With any of these post-production tools, even if you had to spend $500 on a plugin, which you wouldn't.
Twixtor. Yes. Thank you. Fourth 1,000. You are we did it again. You are my hero today, man. That was it. Twixtor.
Thank you for being in the comments. Thank you for sticking with us through all the AI stuff.
That bothered me. Jake, I would have texted you at like 3 a.m., which would only be midnight your time. You'd still be working, but I would text you. It'd be like, oh,
that's what it was. Twixtor. Well, my point is, I don't even know if they're still around or not. I haven't heard about them. But my point is, they were doing that shit a decade ago.
Yeah,
a decade ago. And like, okay, let's just do this here. Twixtor. Let's see if it's still around. Okay. Products.
That is another, while you're looking at it, Jake, that's another AI thing that if you want to market that with some algorithm that's going to read the pixels in between the pixels, that's something that you could do on device without having to send it to Higgsfield, and it could be good. That's a great use case that I'm not going to dump on anybody for. I'm going to shout out.
Their website still looks like they're out in the fucking 90s.
Yeah, because they probably haven't updated anything.
Yeah. Okay. But they have it for literally every system.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you being here.
I'm just going to even look at, what it costs for Premiere Pro. Okay. Their newest version, Twixtor Pro, is $595.
Wait, $5?
$595.
That's insane. But it's cheaper than a GoPro.
But my point is, it is cheaper than a GoPro. You could shoot it on your FX3, a much better camera, and have that.
Yeah, because I got 240, so I'm halfway there. But
my point is, on a much better. But then you could throw a freaking Cook lens on it. Zeiss Master Prime. Like you can
throw all of those on the GoPro though too. You can just adapt it. Micro Four Thirds will adapt to PL. And that's what I was saying though too.
You get my point. You're gonna have a much better color science. You're gonna have a much better camera. Like you're gonna just have a much better, and it's less money in theory, right? There's a version that's not Twixtor Pro that's just Twixtor for $329.
Well, Jake, I'm gonna shill, guys. I apologize. Roast me in the comments for this, but instead of $500 for Twixtor, just like Fourth 1000 is saying right here, $295. You buy DaVinci Resolve, you get your editor, you get Studio Forever, you get all of their tools, and you get optical flow natively for $295, guys. So like that's way more sense.
Yeah.
So there's my unbiased shilling for DaVinci Resolve. I like them. I use them. So.
We don't get paid for this, guys.
we don't get paid for this. DaVinci Resolve is not listening to me.
Unless you're an amazing guest like Jay Hill. We just got to shout you out again. That was unbelievably kind. I don't think you're even on the chat anymore, but if you watch the replay, Jay Hill, that was way too sweet of you to give us a donation. First ever donation. So Jay Hill, you're going on the wall as first ever donation. We appreciate it. But again, we don't get paid for any of this. We're just giving you guys we're just two dudes who work in the industry, who are giving you our opinions,
our worthless opinions.
These are just internet opinions, guys. So what?
I'm going to tease for next week. Because you know what you
in
really
15
need?
Minutes, you're going to be doing what?
You know what you really need, Jake, on a GoPro is you need professional monitoring tools.
Tell me more, Colden.
Well, we get to sit down with Eric, who built some of these professional monitoring tools, not only for Nikon. I was talking about how good this is for Nikon 3 shows ago, right?
Oh yeah, blew my mind.
Well, now he's built something for DJI too. So we're gonna get to talk to him a little bit and hear. But this is the most. I'm not being hyperbolic when I saw what he put out, what he did, and say this is one of the most exciting things in our camera industry that I've gotten to be a part of. And it's just so creator forward. And so I'm teasing that for next week. We'll do a little bit more of it next week, but it's going to be
and then we've got to talk about Apple.
Awesome.
We got to talk about
We
it.
gotta figure out. So everybody in the chat can help me decide if I need to buy the new Mac Studio, because I am still rocking an M1 Ultra. It's basically vintage now, guys. So I saw the new M5s and I'm like, do I need it? Now, the last clip I will leave you with, Jake, because I found this. This is our good friend, Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Kevin O'Leary. And I want.
Oh, this is going to be a lot longer conversation. If you're going to bring this up, no.
I
need to say this for next week.
No, we're not. No, we're not. I need you
have
to
find. I have so much opinions and thoughts about this clip. Okay,
guys, I want to see if you find the same error or like heartache in this clip that I did. And Jake, I have a feeling you're going to pick it out. But here is our last clip. Wonderful, Mr. Kevin O'Leary. Tell me what's wrong with this.
Check this out. Never had a roll of film through it. Never, ever been serviced. It's got the original silicone drop on it. Turns out the thing is priceless. This is a camera from 1959. So not only do I have the original box, because I bought this when I was like 27 years old, because I was into Leica cameras, but check this out. I have all the original papers. So like...
It's so cool.
And the dealer put them all into separate plastic bags, but I have the original invoice for this. Ready for this? This is from 14th of October, 1960. That's when this camera was sold. It was sold for $308.79.
Okay. What did you pull on that one? And this will tie everything together. But what did you pull from that?
I don't know. I mean, this is why I'm like, you have to run. I mean, the comments on the video are fantastic. You know, the amount of creators that were like, let me put that roll of film through it, you know, but you know.
Okay. So you saw this too.
Yeah.
But
so
that to me though, no, that's it. Like I saved it because I was like, this to me is the collector versus the artist. I heard that and my heart hurt that you've never put a roll of film through this famous camera. It's a beautiful camera and you've never tried to take a single picture on it. Maybe Kevin could have afforded 9 of them. I don't know. But just I heard that. That was the one thing I heard. And I was like, that's the difference a little bit between the artist and the AI tech bro.
And then I have to show you this because I think this is, you know, maybe I got to zoom in so that we can really, truly appreciate it.
Instagram is so bad when you try and zoom stuff in.
You know, Joe Greer, if anybody follows him, he's one of the like top IG film bros. You know, 35 millimeter medium format film bros. Let me shoot it, bro. Trust. Like, I love his stuff. Peter McKinnon. I'd be happy to put a fat roll through that. Hernandez photography. Like, you know, you have all of these guys coming out who are like the OG film 35 millimeter medium format photography bros on Instagram being like, but again, and it's exactly what you mentioned, which is the difference between a collector and an artist. An artist is going to use the gear, and a collector will just let it sit in the back. And look, that's not to say one is better than the other, or should you get one? Should you be a collector? Should you, be an artist? Like, it's either game is fine, but and I think it's awesome. I think there's absolutely something, beautiful about being a collector of vintage gear. Because I can tell you, my father is. Yeah. My father has gear that, and from synthesizers to trumpets that are literally like, he has a trumpet that's over 100 years old, and he still plays it. But he still plays it. Yeah. And that's the artist side of it. You know,
Yep.
he has synthesizers that are literally one of one, or that are literally number 3, serial number 3 that he has. And, you know, so it's an interesting thing. It's a very interesting thing.
Guys, Jake and I have been doing this show enough. We're to episode 21. So we're still.
Oh, are we really at 21 now?
We're fresh chickens here, bud. But we have sent each other enough clips on Instagram or Telegram or text message that all of our algorithms are synced. Because I saw that video of Mr. Wonderful, and I was like, Jake's gonna love this one. That's why I pulled it. So I'm glad.
The good thing is, I'm less on social media these days. I've actually taken it off my phone, so I don't have as many clips. But the occasional time I'm on social, I get hit with boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You know, when I have to go check a DM or something like that, I get all the clips. But yeah. All right. So
I'd like to get your thoughts on an AI short. I just want to see this made by a guy who's a filmmaker. It looks too damn good. Dude, I mean, I watched so many of these that hurt, but
I mean, look,
you leave it in the chat. DM it to me.
And you know, we'll check it out. And look, maybe we discuss it on the channel next week. Hopefully we're not just getting to a deep AI, but I'm just gonna throw up some last couple things from the chat. So we throw it out before we end. This comment was funny. This will be me with the new GoPro in 30 years. Never used, all original.
I hope that the GoPro could hold its value like a Leica. I don't think so.
But I love this too. Mr. Wonderful doesn't understand this is the same as buying a brand new jet and never flying in it.
Right.
You know, it's the same thing. It's a tool to be used. And look, there are, you know, I know people who collect purses and they are kept in airtight bags up in their attic in double sealed cases to, you know, that will appreciate their art. And, you know, there is.
Bro, I got the Pokemon cards. I could bust those out at some point.
I'm sure you got a small fortune there. You know,
it's very small.
And then I love this. Peter, no. Joe, most definitely. You know, game, respect, game. Peter's a great photographer, but Joe is arguably one of the top guys right now, at least on the social media side, who's got a great social presence about, you know, being a purist in that respect. And we'll just leave with this last comment right here, because Colden's got a fantastic interview to go run to, which is, would you rather have a pristine, unused camera or beat up camera filled with memories? Taking it back to where we started this with Colden printing out photographs of his.
I know my answer.
We'll leave it with that.
That's a great one to end on.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, everyone in the chat. You guys crushed it today. We really appreciate everybody in the chat. Again, one last shout out to Jay Hill.
Such a fun show, man.
Unbelievably kind of you. It was a fun show. It was a heated show. Arguably the most heated show we've had internally. You know, even though we're like on the same team, you know. So
but chat was rocking on that one too. Chat was rocking. The input was fantastic. So
clap it up for the team. Clap it up for this week's episode. Great episode all around. Thank you guys. And with that, this has been the Creative Lens Podcast. I am Jake.
I am Colden. We'll see you next week, guys.
Next Thursday.
Yep. Peace.